A very pleasant good morning to all the participants who have joined here for this international webinar on impact of COVID-19 on industry relations in Indonesia, which has been organized by the Department of Business Administration of Geeta Jeevan Arts and Science College, Thoothukudi. At this juncture, before getting into At this juncture, before getting into the program, may I request our beloved principal, Dr. S. Malarkodi ma'am, to welcome the gathering. Over to Dr. S. Malarkodi ma'am.
It's okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Happy morning and welcome you all to this webinar. Respected resource person and the chief guest of today's webinar, Dr.ARYANA SATRYA, sir, learned professors of our college, and the professors from various other colleges, students, participants, and the most excellency, the Minister of Malaysia, His Excellency Y.B. Datuk Haji Talib Zulkifli, Minister in the Chief Minister's Department. We have all joined in this international webinar on impact of COVID-19 on industrial relations in Indonesia, organized by the Department of Business Administration, Geeta Jeevan Arts and Science College. So at this juncture, on behalf of Geeta Jeevan Arts and I take this opportunity to welcome you all to this international webinar, which is organized by the Department of Business Administration of Geeta Jeevan Arts and Science College. And our resource, most welcome to our resource person, Dr. ARYANA SATRYA, Senior Lecturer, Department of Management, Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia, who has joined and to spend his valuable time along with us. I welcome you, sir, and thank you very much for accepting our invitation in the midst of your busy schedule. And today we are great enough and we are lucky enough and we are fortunate enough to have the Minister of Malaysia has joined with us today. So I am very much proud and very much pride to welcome His Excellency Y.B. Datuk Haji Talib Zulkifli, Minister in the Chief Minister's Department, Integrity of Ombudsman. So I welcome you, sir. A very warm welcome to you. And dear participants, I express my warm welcome to you all, dear professors and other colleges from us. And so today's topic is COVID-19, the impact on the industry relations in Indonesia. So as a worldwide, the COVID-19 pandemic is the first health and humanitarian crisis and hits almost all the industries in the world. So businesses are rapidly adjusting while the crisis unfolds. Leaders should also prepare for what is coming next, but not the next normal, but normal is not available to us anymore and business as usual even less. So the new reality taking shape is made of complexity, uncertainty, and opportunities. To adapt and thrive, organizations must accelerate and become resistant and agile. So the deep changes are needed in this new environment at speed. So today we are going to listen from our resource person, the great resource person, what's the impact of COVID-19 on industrial relations in Indonesia. So all the participants, dear professors, students, and participants from all over India and abroad, we are great enough to listen his lecture. So once again, I express my warm welcome on behalf of Geeta Jeevan Arts and Science College and the Department of Business Administration. I also congratulate the program coordinator, Mr. Dileepan Kumar, for arranging this such a nice and wonderful session in our college. So thank you very much, sir. And once again, I welcome you. I also express my warm welcome to the organizing committee, Mr. Senthil Ganesh, Professor Senthil Ganesh, Department of Business Administration, and Professor Dhanlakshmi of the Department of Business Administration of Geeta Jeevan Arts and Science College. So once again, I take this opportunity to welcome all the participants who are joined with us in all over India and as well as from abroad, and the Excellency, the Minister, the resource person, and the students from various fields. So once again, I express my warm welcome to you all. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. S. Malarkodi ma'am. Thank you for the nice welcome. Before getting into the program, it is very much honor for Geeta Jeevan Arts and Science College to have our His Excellency Y.B. Eng Bakrut Datuk Haji Talib Zulkifli, Salamat Tangari Minister, for attending our program today. So
Yeah.
let's have a few words from our minister. Can we have a few words from you, sir?
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for the invitation. I'll be joining you halfway. I have another meeting, so I have to rush. But anyhow, I'm keen to hear your experience from India, from Indonesia, my neighbors. Could be my cousin because my great-great-grandfather was from Indonesia, two of them. Anyhow, I'm sure Prof. Bala got relations in India, plenty of them. So have I in Indonesia. What I can see is this, through the exchange of ideas, we're going to see things in different perspectives. There are a lot of similarities, no doubt, but there will be some variation because what I have seen so far, not only in the field of industrial relations and work practices, but what I see is this. In stimulus package, different countries adopt different stimulus package. So I'm keen, Dr.ARYANA, to listen to you and other friends from other parts of the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, for the nice word and for the encouraging word. Soon we'll be having one more international webinar on the impact of COVID-19 with integrity from you, I hope so. So let's have a great day to have you in India through a virtual mode for an international webinar. Thank you, Minister. Thank you for the nice word. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now it's the time for the today's program, and may I now request Madam Mrs. Sangeeta Sudha, Assistant Professor of Commerce of Geeta Jeevan Arts and Science College, to introduce the resource persons of today's session.
Good morning to all. I am Professor overjoyed to take the opportunity to introduce to our chief guest of the day. Today, international webinar on the impact of COVID-19 on industry and relations in Indonesia. And today you have Professor Dr.ARYANA SATRYA is a senior lecturer at the Department of Management, Faculty of Economics, Universities Indonesia. He earned his Ph.D. from the School of Political Science, University of Queensland, Australia. His Ph.D. research examines the effectiveness of union strategy in the Indonesian service industry. He has obtained his bachelor degree in industrial engineering from Bantang Institution of Technology, Indonesia, and his M.B.A. from the University of Indonesia. His current research included topics on health and social security system, the migrant workers, employment of senior citizen, minimum wage worker empowerment, partnership in workplace, freedom of association, the market flexibility, and organizational culture. He is currently the director of Center for Social Security Studies, the School of Strategy and the Global Studies, and previously served as the director of the Laboratory of Management Studies, the Department of Management, both at the University of Indonesia. Through his institutions, he has to provide consultancy service to various public and private companies in manufacturing, banking, telecommunication, electricity, retail, oil and gas, and government agencies. His previous works have been published in various book chapters and journals, including Indian Journal of Industrial Relations, Employment Relations Record, Philippine Journal of Industrial Relations, the Analysis Laboral of Bureau, International Journal of Business and Society, International Journal of Innovation Management, Industrial Law Reports, and ASEAN Profile. He has received several research grants, including from the Hermes Mandas DAAD, Germany, the Hitachi Foundation's ASEAN University Network, the Danato Foundation's Union Network International Ministry of Research and Higher Degree, and Ministry of Manpower. The awards allowed him to conduct research at some institutions, such as the Virgin Universities, Brussels, the Hassel University, Kyoto University, and Korean Institute of Southeast Asian Studies. His works with Professor Balakrishnan Parasuraman, the University Malaysia Sabah UMS, have received some international awards and research innovations competitions, including the gold, silver, and bronze medals in Seoul, the Geneva, and Kuala Lumpur. He has served as the vice chairman of Jagrut Wage Council between the 2009 and 2014. He is past president of Indonesian Industrial Relations Association and member of International Labour and Employment Relations Association. The International Employment Relations Association, Asia the Pacific Sociological Association, the Association of Industrial Relations of the Academic of Australia and New Zealand, the Brisbane Labour History Association, and Indonesian Industrial Engineering and Management Association. Prior to serving as lecturer, he has the extensive professional experience in marketing and business area at a telecommunications company. He was also a researcher at a leading union federations in Indonesia and become a member of trade union both in Indonesia and Australia. Thus, we welcome and give a big round of applause for Professor Dr. ARYANA SATRYA. Welcome, sir, and thank you, Taliban, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mrs. Sangeeta Sudha, for the nice introduction about our resource person. And now the session is over to Professor Dr. ARYANA SATRYA. The session is yours, sir. You can go ahead, please. Thank you.
Very much, Dr. Dilip. Greetings for you, Dr. Malar Kodima, professor, students, and all the participants. Greetings from Indonesia. I've been introduced by Miss Sangeeta. Yeah. Then maybe I don't have to introduce me again. Yeah, maybe we can start to share the screen. While waiting, maybe we can use the presentation mode. Maybe you can click to make it larger.
It was done. It was done. It was done. It was done.
Okay. Indonesia is the largest country in Southeast Asia. However, it inherits some culture also as well from the India. That's why maybe you will wonder why my name is like a Indian name, ARYANA SATRYA. Yeah, because maybe my mother said to me that she was fond of one of the tribe in India. It's a Aryan tribe. That's why she gave me the name of ARYANA. SATRYA is like the warrior, yeah.
Then we'll wait for another 1 minute.
I teach in Universitas Indonesia. This is the oldest and the largest and the best university in Indonesia. Maybe you can see in the background of me, that was the Chancellery building at the back of me, and it's surrounded by a lake. It caters for about 40,000 students. We have two campuses. The main campus is that laid in there, and the other one in the city campus, the old campus. We have moved to the current campus in 1988. How about the screen? Should I?
1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Today, I will talk about industrial relations in Indonesia amid the COVID-19 pandemic. We have known that in the beginning, I will introduce the current situation, and then I will also maybe share some small knowledge on industrial relation to make the similar perception regarding industrial relations. Maybe all of you have been also familiar with industrial relation. However, maybe some of you also has just been not so familiar. Next. Yeah, next. Yeah, next. Yeah, this is the profile that has been introduced. Yeah, this is some of the activities that I've been involved. Mr. Sisan has told that I was a union member, trade union member. That was why I'm interested to learn about manpower. Previously, I was the Secretary General of an enterprise trade union. And then my dissertation, my thesis on doctoral thesis was on effective union strategy. There are some portraits when I was in Japan, in South Korea, in Philippines, in Germany, and as well when I was involved in a rally in Australia as a member of the trade union. Next. Oh yeah, there are some award that has been awarded since the my relationship with Professor Balakrishnan Parasuraman. I was known to him when we were students and attending the industrial relations seminar conference in Adelaide, Australia. And since then, we were working together since 2007 until now. We are getting each other. And almost every year, we visit each other. Our agenda, including introduction, some concept of industrial relation, and COVID impact and response. Next. Yeah, next. Yeah, yeah, next. Yeah, and this is I got from the ILO monitor that this is the condition comparing between before and after corona pandemic. We can see that this is the drop of working hours compared to the pre-crisis. We can see that the drop of the working hours, particularly in, actually it was experienced by all of the countries, both low income, upper middle, or high income. Particularly maybe in, as well, the decrease of the working hour also experienced in the whole world, from Africa, America, Asia, Pacific, and Europe and Central Asia. Next. We can see that this is the percentage of the workers suffered from the closures of their workplace. We can see it has just reached the peak at the end of March. Yeah. Since like in Indonesia later, that the pandemic just been identified in the early of March. Next. Let me introduce a little bit about industrial relations. Next. There are some definition of industrial relations. There are some from Indonesia, Australia, United Kingdom, Canada, and USA. We can see that all of them using the term of industrial relations. However, there are, in United Kingdom, they also use the term of employee relations instead of industrial relations. In the past, yes, they adopt industrial relation. However, they argue that the relationship between employers and employees doesn't necessarily go through the representation of trade union, since they consider that industrial relations is the study of the relationship between employer and employees through a collective relationship through the trade union. Then they consider that they have to introduce new term, that is employee relation, which cover the relationship if there was no any trade union. However, most of them still use the term industrial relations. When I check in India, we can see that the term industrial relation may be still being more popular rather than employee relations. The employee relations may be used particularly by the academics and the people from the Europe and Australia. Even the association, the international association established by the ILO, it's ILERA, International Labor and Employee Relations Association, has adopted the name of employee relations. However, they still retain the name of industrial relation. In Indonesia, we still use the term of industrial relations. In short, the industrial relations actually study how to regulate the relationship between employer-employee or superior subordinate or workers and management, whatever we can say, yeah, through the representation on and non-representation. Even some definition also include not only in workplace as well, but also the society at large. Next. Yeah, the objective of industrial relation is a positive interaction. It's a two-way communication and interaction between employers and employees. The intensive communication will create the understanding and trust throughout the relationship. And then hopefully it will create industrial peace. How they can achieve industrial peace? Because the employees understand the condition or prospect of the company, and they can also give the opinion and the views. As well, in the other side, the employer will also understand the interest of the employees. They can also receive their needs and grievances and interests. And there are two objectives as well that will be achieved, that is through the industrial peace, the company productivity will also be possible, and the workers' welfare will also made possible through the activity of the company. Next. Yeah, this is one of the framework that can be used to discuss about industrial relations. This is the framework that I use from the Canadian industrial relations book. The framework contains of environment factor, the parties that involve, the interaction that they made, and the result. The environment factor, it's quite maybe from the managerial or management perspective. They can be from the economic, political, social, culture, legal system. Then who will be involved in the industrial relation? There are the management, enterprise, employees, employee organization, as well as the employer organization, as well consultant and government, and even the public. And the interaction of all the parties can be go through the labor market, when let's say the enterprise recruit the employees, and when they have work for together, then the interaction will be from personal administration and collective bargaining. then the government or the state will provide the labor standard legislation. The result of the interaction can be in the term of productivity, in the term of the industrial action that may be known as a work stoppage, strikes, lockouts, and other employer-employee practices. All the part will interact each other and give feedback to the other. It's just like an open system. This may also refer to the work of Dunlop. Dunlop introduced the system theory to understand the industrial relation system. This is the open system. Next. Yeah. To understand the industrial relation, there are three approaches or perspectives. This is quite fundamental since we will understand about how they interact each other. The first is called Unitarist Perspective. The second is called Pluralist Perspective. And the third is Marxism or Radical Perspective. The aspect that discussed in the perspective, each perspective is whether there is how they see the power, who owns the power, how about the balance of the power, how about the conflict, then what is the role of each party, the manager, employee, as well as union. In unitarist perspective, the perspective consider that in the company or in the corporate or in the institution, there are only one common purpose, the purpose of the institution. Then, through the harmony and integrated relationship, the management employee will achieve the common purpose. How they achieve the common purpose? Management will give leadership, will provide good communication to be able to maximize the productivity of employees. And the employee have to be loyal to organization in recognition of the common objective. Not yet, sorry, back, still in unitarist. Back, sorry, back in the previous. Okay, in the unitarist perspective, since there is a common purpose, then they consider that conflict is, the unitarist. Yeah, no, not this one, previous one. Unitarist, yeah, this one. Conflict have to be avoided since conflict will create a good condition. Why conflict happen? They consider that maybe because the parties cannot perform as requested. Like whether maybe the management have not strong leadership, cannot communicate, or the employees couldn't understand or fail to understand about the common purpose. Or even maybe sometimes they also consider that there is what they call the agitator, including what they consider union. Trade union they consider as a third party. They think that it is that they create conflict. If you see the name of the supporter of this perspective, you will see that maybe all of them are behaviorists and scientific management, like Frederick Taylor, Elton Mayo, McGregor, Likert, Harrisburg, all were behaviorists and scientific approach during their 20s, 30s until after the World War. Next, there is the unitarist. The second perspective called a pluralist. This perspective considered that since the enterprise of the company contains people from various interests and aspiration, then they consider the conflict is very, very natural. It's inevitable and legitimate consequence since it's the consequence of the different interests of the parties inside the company. However, even though there is a conflict, the power is evenly distributed. That it's quite balanced between the power from the management and the employee. The management then, they have to keep the conflict within acceptable bound. They consider the conflict is natural. If we learn about the organizational behavior from the organizational behavior, there is also a approach. They mention that conflict actually natural, or even some more contemporary academics mention that conflict is needed to make the company or the organization go forward. Otherwise, they just remain static. The state, if in the unitarists, they may consider that the state doesn't have to interfere since both the party know best how to relate with each other. However, in pluralists, since there is a potential conflict, then the state has also be involved to protect the weak and to restrain the strong power. Therefore, the trade union view as a legitimate representative of the employee, not as the agitator. They can represent on behalf of employee or through the employee during the negotiation that can be made because of the balance of the power of the parties. Next, the radical. This is the third perspective. Actually, the radical may be a special form of the pluralists. In pluralists, in radical, they consider the conflict also there. However, they consider that the conflict between worker and employers cannot be evenly distributed. The power, since the power is very imbalanced. Therefore, it's very, it needs the intervention by the state to acquire the means of production and manage all the production. Therefore, in pluralist perspective, the relationship still can be arranged, can be regulated through the state, through the regulation, the creation or regulation through the state or the bipartite system, like a collective bargaining. However, in radical, the regulation is not enough. They have to create, they have asked the state to intervene since they don't believe that there is a balance of power. Yeah, next. That's the, we have learned about the framework, that is open system framework, and how we see perspective. Unitarist, no conflict, pluralist, conflict is natural, and radical. Conflict is cannot be bridged, it has to be intervened. Now we will go through the main part of the discussion regarding industrial relations in Indonesia amid COVID-19. Next. In Indonesia, current labor law, there are three main current labor law. The first is Labor Union Act, Manpower Act, and Industrial Relations Dispute Settlement Act. All the labor laws were the products of the labor law reform after Indonesia experienced the turbulence in 1998. Since the fall of the regime of Suharto, then the past labor law that dated back in 57, in 67, has been changed, all of them, towards this three main labor law. The trade labor law consider about how the establishment of labor union can be established in enterprise at least with 10 people. If not mistaken, in India, 4 people can be, but has been changed to the newer. It has required at least 100 people, yeah, to establish a trade union. In the Manpower Act, it's the main legislation to regulate the labor market. And the Industrial Relations Act, it will create the Industrial Relations Court. In the past, there was no any, there was a committee for dispute settlement. However, the Industrial Relations Act is the newer, that it's established in every province, in 34 provinces in Indonesia. Next. If we see the current labor law, we can compare the current labor law in what they call Labor Freedom Index. Regarding Labor Freedom Index, the greater, the scale is up to 100. The maximum, the more, the larger the number, the less regulations. We can see Indonesia 49 compared to Malaysia 75, Singapore 91. However, Thailand is 64. However, we can see that Germany is 53. Asia as a whole, 61, the same is Europe, 61. And the world is 59. Indonesia, therefore, can be considered, the manpower law can be considered quite strict. Yeah, 49 is very strict. Since Indonesia applies minimum wage, also have a strict requirement for hiring and firing. For example, if you want to hire, you can contract people up to 5 years. And when you want to fire people, then if it's a contract worker, you have to pay the remaining. If there is you want to fire the permanent worker, you have to pay severance pay. For example, the people who work about 4 or 5 years, if they work terminated, they can receive up to 10 months wages. Since Indonesia still doesn't have the unemployment insurance. Indonesia also have ratified all the basic labor right ILO conventions. There are 8 conventions, including the freedom of association, the non-discriminatory, the prevention of child labor, and the others. We can see later that not all the countries ratified all the 8 basic labor rights. Next. This is the strike rate in Indonesia. We can see in the black one is the number of work stoppage. It's to the left of the scale. The number is like in 81, it reached 200 times stoppage. However, the people who were involved is in the red 1. Yeah, we can see that there is a dynamic of the strike rates. For example, in the 80s, this is quite high strike rate since there was the crisis of oil. And the 90s, Indonesia has introduced the minimum wage. Then it just increased rapidly. And in 98, when there was a crisis, there was a lower part. And after that, there is a hike in 2006. In 2006, the state or the government has attempted to change the manpower law that has just been established 3 years before in 2003. That in that time, since the unions and the labor rejected that kind of idea, the number of strikes were quite hikes, very high. However, the later, the number of strikes were reduced. Next. Yeah, this is the number of industrial relation institution. We can see in the left part is the number of enterprise unions. In the beginning, after the fall of regime Suharto, then the number of enterprise unions were increased sharply up to 18,000. However, it just getting down until now, it's toward the 11,000. The memberships, however, actually it's just about, in the beginning, in 2004, it's about 3 millions. However, now maybe up to half, maybe about less than 2 million. The federation number in the beginning, in 98, it was only 1, since it's only the incumbent federation. Then it just grew rapidly towards the year until reaching 92 federation. Federation can be established by 5 union of enterprise unions. 5 enterprise unions can establish 1 federation, and 3 federation can establish 1 confederation or the peak body. In Indonesia, the peak body is only 2 peak body that is just established by themselves. The other was the separation of the incumbent peak body. The bipartite institutions are growing. Bipartite is maybe in India or in other country can be known as a joint committee or like a work council. The tripartite involve the government. Next. Yeah, this is the type of worker participation. There is a continuum from information sharing until self-management. Next. Yeah, this is some of the, maybe we can read later regarding how the joint committee or can be established in Indonesia, since it's a compulsory for the institution, not necessarily company, but not for profit, like a foundation also. If they employ more than 50 workers, they have to establish joint committee to be the communication and consultation body. Next. Yeah, this is the pattern of industrial relation that can be reversed. Based on this one, then we can consider there Indonesia has experienced all that part. Next. From Sukarno is a political alliance between trade union or labor movement with the political party. In Suharto, Suharto just reduced the number of trade union to be able to easily to handle or control. And during the 90s, that's the introduction of minimum wage and also the interfere of the labor union from overseas, it became conflictual repressive. However, after the fall of Suharto, from Habibie until Joko Widodo, now can be considered as cooperative accommodative. Next. This is the part of industrialization situation. We can see that only Indonesia has established the ratified 8 core labor convention. The other, like Malaysia, only 5, Singapore even only 4, and Vietnam only 3. Next. Now the COVID-19. Yeah, next. This is the timeline happened when the COVID-19 timeline. COVID-19, sorry. The first case acknowledged in early of March, and the government in the middle of March established a task force. Then in the end of March, government imposed restriction for movement, particularly during just before the Eid al-Fitr, the largest religious celebration of Islam in Indonesia. In the 12 May, the death toll has reached 1,000, and 19 May, the PCR test, the swab test, reached 10,000 specimens per day. Prior to that, the number of swab tests has just very low. We can see this is the, in the upper side, there is a case per day. It just still increasing. As well, the death rate also increasing. Next. The current condition, the Ministry of Manpower considered that there will up to 5 million workers will be affected through the COVID-19. Not necessarily terminated, but maybe temporarily laid off. As of May, there are 1 million laid off. Laid off, it means it's just they don't have to work, but they still pay the basic salary. About almost 400,000 were sacked or terminated. And even the migrant workers were not failed to send to the overseas. Even the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce considered that the figure can reach up to 6 million, or even the other mentioned. If we consider the informal sector, it can be up to 15 million. And the Minister of Finance has stipulated that maybe the growth in Indonesia, the growth, economic growth will contracted -3% this year. Next. There is some outlet of case, like a Kentucky Fried Chicken, Herr Furlough. Furlough is a, they lay off, but still they require the worker not to come to work, but they still pay the basic salary. Traveloka, maybe you have heard, one of the Decathlon, have terminated about 100 people. Also a retail department store as well. Even also the airplane, the largest airplane industry, Lion Air, has terminated more than 2,000 workers. Next. This is the unemployment rate in Indonesia. Actually, it just going down sharply from in 2005 during the presidency of Susilo Bambang. It's 10%, even reached 12%, but at the end of his period, it reached just 6%. And during Joko Widodo, it just also getting lower, up to only 5.2%. it's about 7 million. However, it will predicted that at the end of 2020, it will reach 7 or 8% and up maybe an increase of about 2 million, additional 2 million. Next. How the business come up with the COVID-19? They can make a wage cut. The employer can apply a deferred wage payment, minimum wage payment, also annual religious bonus, but it pending to the negotiation with the worker or the trade union. There is a Minister of Manpower decree regarding the how the wage and condition can be negotiated. If they fail to get the agreement from the workers, they have to submit the case to the Industrial Relations Court. The workers who suffer COVID-19 can be paid up to 12 months. In the first 4 months, they receive full wages. Next. The business also can make a furlough or temporary stood down. However, the Indonesian labor law mentioned that if the employees were furloughed or temporarily stood down, they still have to be paid with the basic salary as well as employment benefit. One of the legal aid mentioned that it's quite reasonable since the business assign the people to not work to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Then they are entitled to be paid. Next. The other choice of the company is assisted by the government. The Indonesian government provide some social assistance. They mention food voucher, the cash transfer. Even the financial regulator mentioned that they will reduce the credit payment, non-bank credit payment for micro and small enterprise. Even the worker who have at a certain threshold, they will be exempted from paying income tax for 6 months. One of the champion of the produce of the product of the current president is they call the pre-employment card program. It is dedicated particularly for the terminated worker. They pay the incentive in the cash and training through the online training program for up to 4 months. At the moment, about 500 has been participated, even though the registered people has more than 1 million, but still 500 that has received these benefits. Next. The last resort is the business terminate the workers. In Indonesia, if the fixed term worker were terminated, they have to be paid the remaining of to the end of the contract. For the permanent workers, they have to pay the severance pay that I mentioned before, that if people work for a year, they can receive up to 10 months salary. Then, however, if they want to lay off, they have to negotiate with workers and representatives. And then, if not reached, they have to submit to the Industrial Relations Court. Next. One of the creation of the bill just before the pandemic is Omnibus bill. They call it it's a Omnibus. Omnibus cover to change or alter to add or to reduce the articles in many law or acts. This is because the government want to increase foreign investment. We have tried to conduct some interview with the trade union, with federation, with all Indonesian federation level, federation and confederation level. They are agreed that the Omnibus bill will reduce the right to severance payment. The severance payment will be lower. Then the outsourcing can be getting worse because in the past, only 5 sectors that can be outsourced, like for the security, the transportation, the industry in the oil and mining, all jobs in there, as well as the cleaning, that can be outsourced. However, in Omnibus bill, all sector can be outsourced. And also the governor can reduce or can let the company not pay the minimum wages for the labor intensive industry. And the contract that has been limited only 5 years, then can be abandoned. Then the thankfully that the union workers has forced the delay of the Omnibus bill discussion. However, it's still in the legislation. Next. Yeah, that's all from me. Then we can see that throughout the pandemic, the business try to preserve themselves through many types by reducing working hour, reducing bonus, cutting wages, furlough, temporary layoff, and the government as well help the business through many types of social assistance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor, for the nice session on industrial relations, that too with the reference to Indonesia. We have a couple of questions here, and before that, let me post the feedback link for the participants in the Zoom chat box. We request the participants kindly please go and click on the chat which is in your device. Either you have connected with your PC, laptop, or you may be even connected in your smartphones. So if you're connected in a smartphones, there will be 3 dots will be there. You can click on it, which will tell you a word known as chat will be over there. You please click on chat. You can find what is this the link over there in the chat box. So I request the participants to go to the chat box, view the link which was posted in the chat box, and click on that and leave your feedback and your attendance. This will be counted as your attendance too, and this will facilitate us for providing the e-certificate. The e-certificate you will receive within 5 to 8 business days, 8 working days. So we request the participants to kindly cooperate in that particular part, and we will not send the feedback link to an individual either in mail or WhatsApp. So kindly please, we request the participants to go to the Zoom chat box and to click on the feedback link which was posted over it. Thank you very much. So we have a couple of questions to Dr. ARYANA. Doctor, the question is, during this pandemic time, okay, because Indonesia is a major producer of crude oil, but due to this pandemic situation, does they stop their production? If they have not stopped, will they raise the price of the crude oil in this situation?
Okay. Currently, the price of crude oil actually determined by the world price. Indonesia currently actually become the net importer. Let's say we export, however, the number of exports are fewer than the number of import. We export the high grade oil, and import the lower grade oil. Then until now, because the world price of oil decreased, then there is no any increase of the oil, like a gasoline in Indonesia. Even just maybe recently, maybe last week, they just lower the cost of the price of the gasoline. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. The second question is, do this pandemic situation affect the level of GDP of Indonesia?
The President Jokowi, current president, just announced last week that Indonesia were promoted to the no longer the lower middle country. It became the upper middle country because it has reached the more than 4,000 US dollar per capita per year. However, since there is a contraction, this year will be about minus 3%. And however, the next year, the 2021, maybe it will be recovered. Even Indonesia may be among the several people that were predicted, several countries that were predicted will be recovered in the end of 2021, including the India, maybe 5% increase, China and Indonesia. Yes, there is a possibility that the GDP will be downward a little bit since this contracted year. But I don't know how many percent, whether it make Indonesia become in the lower middle income country again. I don't know yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. And the textile industry is getting finding very difficult nowadays during this pandemic time. And what is your opinion on what strategies the textile industry can play to avoid the bankruptcy?
Yeah, in Indonesia, maybe slightly different with the Anglo-Saxon countries that quite familiar with bankruptcy. Yeah, the business, if they want to go bankrupt, they don't have to file bankruptcy. Yeah, they just negotiate with their creditor directly, and if they cannot reach the agreement, then they can submit to the one of the institution that manage the like a bankruptcy. They will appoint what they call the curator. The curator, they will take care of the process of bankruptcy. However, until now, there were still maybe one or less than 10 companies that declared their bankruptcy. One is the hotel network. They called AIRY, A-I-R-Y. AIRY, like Oyo from India, yeah? AIRY just got bankrupt. They declared. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. And what about the government of Indonesia? Are they paying something in benefits to the business people, especially because the productivity has been stopped during this pandemic period? So do the government have pay anything for the business people to overcome these challenges? Are they receiving any, the customer receiving any pink letter?
Business people means the worker or the management?
Both the workers as well as the management, because yeah, both are affected highly.
Yeah, surely. As I mentioned in the last part, that the government of Indonesia has created, actually has have the social assistance in the form of cash transfer, particularly for the poor family. However, now they have increased the number of recipients as well as the amount of cash transfer. However, they create special program called the pre-employment pre-employment program card. Then the people who were terminated or the people who just entered the labor market can apply for the pre-employment card. It's particular card actually is a transition to equip them with new skill. Then through this program, it will last about 4 or 5 months. They will access the skill through the online training and receive incentive. The target is 5 million recipients. However, until now, about 500,000 has received, even though more than 1 million has applied. The other has been dedicated for the business, the company. They also consider about the relaxation for not paying the value-added tax. That is some assistance from the government. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. So we have another question from Professor Dr. Bala. Why Traveloka retrench the workers as they are online travel agent and involved in digital business? They should even move to another business instead of retrenching, or how can they retrench the people?
Okay, even there was a news mentioning that one digital scientist actually has moved from Grab or other, moved to Traveloka, but she has just worked for 1 or 2 days and then just terminated. Yeah, the Traveloka actually, particularly in Indonesia, is known for its use for the travelers. They, like me, even Prof. Bala, use the Traveloka to book for plane because it's quite cheap. We can go around the world. I have used for the going to the US, to Europe, to the Asia, but not Africa. Yeah, using the Traveloka. I can also use for the train, or even I can rent cars in many cities. Since in Indonesia, it's been restriction for going somewhere, like from Jakarta, the capital, we cannot go to the other city, even to the West Java, the nearby, because of the lockdown. However, now just in the east of the lockdown. However, for the plane, the traveler using plane, they still have to supply the swab test or the rapid test to mention that they are not sick to be able to travel. Then that's why Traveloka suffered, because most of its business were from the traveler. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. This is a question from the student of Universitas Indonesia, from Eva Mutia Gofarni. The question is, when the company is moving their industry to other area with cheaper minimum wages during this time of COVID-19 situation, it may be the company is saving themselves from bankruptcy, but what is the next version? When you're talking about the workers, they affect very highly. So what is your opinion on that particular part?
Actually, in Indonesia, there is a regime of minimum wage. However, the minimum wage were different from cities, even in one provinces, or like in Tamil Nadu, maybe there are many cities, the minimum wage will be different. In West Java, the minimum wage in Jakarta, it's quite high since the main industrial estate, industrial complex are located, since it's very close to the nearby transportation for through the sea or through the air. Then that's why the minimum wage were high there. Now, in the adjacent, the neighbor provinces, that is the Central Java, they have lower minimum wage. Then even before the pandemic, because of the discrepancy of the minimum wage level, the discrepancy can be up to 1.5 million or 2 million even. 2 million rupiah, it's about $500. Yeah, 500. 58 dollars, yeah, up to 50 or even $100, yeah. Then they will just move, particularly the labor intensive like footwear, garment, and textile. But in pandemic, they are maybe getting more and more company move to the cheaper provinces or area. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. And I have a couple of questions. There was a great transition that happened from a centralized to a government control system in Indonesia. So can you please explain about the transition?
The what? Sorry?
Transition from a heavily centralized and government controlled system.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Indonesia, after the fall of Suharto, has just changed amend the constitution. Then the constitution allow to Indonesian to become more decentralized. Now, the power of all aspects were located in the city or regency area. Only 5 issues that has been centralized. That is the finance, foreign affairs, the defense, whatever, finance, defense. The remaining are the authority of the city of the regency. That's why now many people try to become a region or mayor of a city, since maybe they can use their power, they can benefit from them. That's after the reform era. Thank you.
Which is very nice to follow, either before the amendment or after the amendment of decentralization.
Yeah, after the amendment, then it becomes the decentralization. Then all the power, except the 5 issues, were controlled in the city or regency level. Only 5 issues that become the authority of the central government.
Thank you, Doctor. The next question is, will industry relations disputes improve the current situation?
Dispute?
Yeah.
Yeah. In Indonesia, even though maybe the union are not so strong, however, at least they try to negotiate in good manner with the employer. That's why maybe one of the force that has the result of the delay of the discussion of Omnibus law that will deteriorate the condition of workers. Since, let's say, in the current situation, you can only be contracted for 5 years. After 5 years, you have to be promoted as a fixed, or as a permanent worker, or you just been stopped. But in the bill, the period of contract can be changed into unlimited, not only 5 years, but can be 10 years. It's just going back to the previous, prior to the law of 2003. That's, however, yeah, let's say they, some of trade union try to establish strikes and rally during COVID during the May Day. However, they cancel the effort since they consider that it will be not fruitful to use that kind of strategy. Yeah.
Thank you,
And
Doctor.
also there is, yeah.
The final
then there
question.
is compulsory. Yeah.
Okay. The final question, what about the challenges faced by the trade union and time industry in dealing with industry relations?
Yeah, the trade union have to deal with the current situation. We can see that, let's say, maybe the company will want to change some of their way of work, like working from home. They will reduce the cost for providing the space, the area, equipment, etc. Then the trade union have to be ready for that. And also the automation, like now I can talk to you easily, but prior to this, we never do the this webinar through the face-to-face through the Zoom. Yeah, maybe even the travel of the business will be also decreased. They just say, okay, just use Zoom. It's cheaper. It's more faster rather than go to the other city, for example. Then also trade union have the problem when we have discussed, interview the federation and confederation in May. Yeah, they also still mention about the membership, that the membership of the, they suffer from the membership of the, particularly the Y generation, because the Y generation consider themselves as a well-equipped and they don't really benefit from the trade union. Then that all of that kind of issue can lower the bargaining power of the trade union. The trade union have to find the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. And a couple of announcements for the participants. On 13th July 2020, the Center for Extension Activities, Red Ribbon Club of Gita Jivan Arts and Science College is hosting an international webinar on cancer research and therapy. Dr. Haribalan from South Korea is going to be the resource person for that event. And on 15th of July, we have an international webinar on online teaching and learning, challenges and opportunities through disruption. The resource person for this particular webinar is Dr. Professor Emeritus Tanshi Datuk, Dr. Anwar bin Ali, the Chancellor of the University of SATRYA, Malaysia. So participants will post both the invitation in the WhatsApp group. So if people, those who are interested, you may even register for this event and you can join in this on the particular date. Thank you. And it is the time for the vote of thanks. At the outset, it gives me a great privilege and honor to thank three main persons today. The number one is Young Barkmat Datuk Haji Dalip Zalpal, the Minister in the Chief Minister's Department of Integrity and Ombudsman. So I thank from the bottom of my own heart, from the part of Gita Jivan Arts and Science College management, principal, faculty members, and on behalf of the participants who have joined with us for this webinar, we thank wholeheartedly the Minister of the Sarawak who have joined with us today. It is again a great delight for happy and joy for us to have him today. So soon I hope we'll be having one more webinar with him in the coming days also. Thank you, Datu, for the august presence. It's my profound duty to thank Professor Dr. Bala who is the professor in the Department of Business and Entrepreneurship, University of Malaysia, Kalimantan, who have joined with us today and who is continuously supporting us in all our endeavors. Thank you, Professor Dr. Bala. And to the note of Professor Dr. Bala, you have been added in our visiting faculty panel right now. So continue your support for the Department of Business Administration of our institution and make our institution to fly in the higher heights. Thank you, Professor Dr. Bala. And I would like to thank the resource person who is the hero of today's webinar, Dr.ARYANA SATRYA, who have made the entire session very clearly. He has explained all the nuances and all the concepts of the industry relations today. And he has also dealt very carefully and gave a very great explanations on the questions which have been asked to him. So thank you on behalf of Geeta Jeevan Arts and Science College Management, Principal, faculty members, and on behalf of the participant and my own behalf, we thank you, Doctor, for the encouragement, for the nice session what we have today. Thank you, Doctor. And it is my profound duty to thank the participants from Switzerland, the participants from Indonesia, the participants from Malaysia, the participants from Sri Lanka, the participants from Singapore and Malaysia also. So we have almost 50 plus international participants today with us. So Geeta Jeevan Arts and Science College is very much happy and thank all the participants who have joined from the international countries. So thank you very much. And it's my profound duty to thank the Secretary of the institution, Mr. P. Jeevan Jacob, who is continuously supporting us in all our endeavors, granting permission to conduct such a great programs. And when an institution come up with certain knowledge, it is not even confined that knowledge to an institution. It has to be open to the public. And with that motive, we, Geeta Jeevan Arts and Science College, along with our secretary, we are opening it to the public. Whenever we get a good context from the international, from the abroad, we are opening it to the wide public so that everyone, the knowledge is, has to be shared actually. So the knowledge is being shared to the public, whomever is registering. So it is not confined to our own department or our own faculty members. We are putting it to across the globe for them to share their knowledges and to enrich their knowledges. So we thank Mr. P. Jeevan Jacob sir for the motivation and granting permission to conduct such a great webinars. Next, I would like to thank Dr. S. Malarkodi ma'am, the principal of the institution, for her great support and motivation. Without thanking her, because whenever I was calling her that we have a wonderful guest or wonderful resource person who is going to talk on this particular, immediately she will sanction us. Immediately she will take through the management and she will get an approval, and she will tell immediately, Professor, you can go ahead. So such a great professor we have as the principal of the institution. So it is my honor to thank Dr. S. Malarkodi ma'am for always being a source of support and motivation. Thank you very much, ma'am. Next, I would like to thank the professors of the Department of Business Administration, Professor Sandil Ganesh and Professor Dhanlashmi, for their support and coordination in making this program a grand success. I would like to thank Mrs. Sangeeta Sudha, the Assistant Professor of Commerce, who have introduced the resource person today. Thank you, Madam Sangeeta Sudha. I would like to thank all the professors of our own institution who have joined with us, and a special great thanks to the professors and the scholars and the students who have joined across the globe with us today, because without you, the program will not be a success. So continue your support and cooperate with us in making all the programs of our institution for a grand success. And with this great note, I congratulate the entire team who is behind the success of this webinar. Thank you very much, and may God bless you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Aryana. Thank you, Professor Dr. Bala, for making this program with your gracious presence. Thank you.
Thank you for your opportunity, Dr. Dilip, Dr. Malarkor, Dr. Satya, Prof. Bala. Thank you for introducing me to the friend from India, Yang Bahagia Datuk Talib as well. See you in the other opportunity.
So Isaac,
thank you for my students, also my relative. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Bala. Convey my regards to Isaac also. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. With this, we'll end the meeting. Thank you. May God bless you.